All right, good morning. We're back in a hangar. It's about 5:30 Sunday morning. Still working on this fender. We actually completed most of the parts for the rest of the front clip yesterday and just worked the fender on and off. So at this point you can see it's got a light smear over the entire affected area and more, and we'll continue to work on that and give you updates. One thing on these smears, we talked about keeping them thin, but you always want to put a smear over a bigger area than what you're actually planning to cover so it can float out, even though it's really a thickness of a piece of paper, or a little more than that perhaps. So right now we're working on plugging up a front antenna hole because we're going to put one in the back, which was an option from the factory, and it's cool. So what I did was I made a little plug here out of steel to go into that hole, and I'm holding it on there with a magnet. And you can make these plugs a couple of different ways when you've got a hole that you need to fill like that. Find a piece of steel. I made a pattern. Make sure the pattern fit, and then transfer that onto a piece of steel, and I just used a pair of snips to cut it out. You can use a bandsaw if you've got one. I do, but it's located in another building of the massive empire that we are here at the hangar. So what we're going to do now is we're going to MIG weld this, the perimeter of this hole for this antenna, then we'll grind all that, and we'll come back, we'll put a little smear over it, and no more hole. So there you are, and I'll put a couple of tacks in place and show you what we're going to do. All right, so that's tacked in place now. I'll show you how that's going to look. So there you are, and you'll notice there's a slight gap between the plug and the sheet metal. You want that. Give your weld a place to go. The little notch there's part of the antenna mounting bracket. I'll just fill that notch with weld. So that's one of this morning's projects. Keep you updated. All right, that process is complete. It's kind of crudely ground. I'll show you what it looks like. So you saw the tack welds I put on there. When you're welding these panels that are thinner, 18 gauge steel or whatever it is, you can't run a constant bead of weld around something or you're going to warp the panel. So you've got to kind of tack it in place or put real short stitch welds, real short runs of weld at a time. And you need to, if you're welding a large area, you need to spread those out and let the panel cool. Otherwise, you're going to warp the panel while you're doing your repair. So I ground this just with a angle grinder. With a grinding disc on it. Nice thing about these, you can flip over to a flop disc and then smooth that out. What I'm going to do is come back and grind it with my die grinder, one of these, and I'll bust that a little smoother. At that point, I'll just put a light smear on it, and it'll be good to go. I'll show you what it looks like after the welding here. So there you go, and Bob's your uncle, no more hole. So we get to drill a hole later. That's it for now. All right, so there is our former antenna hole after being final ground with a die grinder. As you can see, it's going to take very minimal putty to cover that. Right way and a wrong way to do everything, including use body filler. So that's it for this for the hole.